Hey everybody, it's Matt, and I'm doing a video today on all the Record Store Day purchases that I have picked up from the first time I went to Record Store Day, which was the second year they had it, up to now. Uh, reason I thought about this is that somebody over on Facebook made a Record Store Day group on Facebook, and I got an invitation, and so yesterday I just started posting, thought it'd be fun to dig out everything that I've ever bought for Record Store Day and post it over there, the pictures. But as long as I had all this stuff out, I thought I would just make a video and show everything that I've ever bought. Unfortunately, I didn't save very many of the lists. I always print them off every year and every Black Friday Record Store Day, but I've only kept a few of them, so I have no idea as to what year most of these things came out. Remember a few, but not most of them. Anyway, it's quite a few things, so let's just get through them. We'll start with 45s, and this was not the one that just passed, but I think maybe this was the one that just passed. This was the one, the Black Friday, I believe, but I'm not sure. A little overpriced, and I wish he would have put like a bonus song on there instead of the two songs that had already been released. But it's a cool picture sleeve. I never opened it. It's still sealed. I've got the album. No need to do that. Here's something they do. I think they still do this every year. This is a mystery 45, and it's always what it is one song but different band on each side of the 45 covering the same song. So you don't know what it is until you buy it. But this is the Ico Ico or Eco Eco, and you've got this actually got three. You got the Dixie Cups version, which most everyone's heard, Dr. John's version, which is a little more obscure, and Grateful Dead's version. So that's a pretty cool deal, and neat little 45. So yeah, you got that. This is a 245 set EP of Link Ray, the great guitarist, and a really cool. I've got a lot of enjoyment out of this over the years, and I've got this, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years ago, but some really great songs on there, and I'm glad I picked that one up. Another one I never opened, still sealed. This is the Kinks, You Really Got Me, Milk Cow Blues. It's live at Twickenham Television Studios in London in 1965. They did several of these Kinks EPs. Those are just reprints, I believe, of things that came out in the 60s, so I wasn't really that crazy about buying a reprint of something. If I wanted them, I'd rather just get the original. Same reason I didn't get the Strawberry Fields picture sleeve thing a couple of year or two ago. But I picked this one up just because it had a cool picture on the cover there. Here's one of my favorite songs. It's Linus and Lucy from the Charlie Brown Christmas special. And there's the back. I've got the record over there. I think it's on green vinyl, but I should have got it out, but I didn't. Here's another one of those double side-by-side deals that they do. This is the great song Walk On By, one of my favorite songs. Side one has it by the Stranglers, I believe, is on side one, and the Dionne Warwick is on the second side. And that's, like I said, one of my favorite songs of all time. Dionne's version is the best, but Stranglers do a great version, and some other people do really good versions of it too. So anyway, one of my favorite songs. The band that I'm not really that crazy about, but I picked this up somewhere on one of the early Record Store Days, the White Stripes. And here's another of theirs. These are just reprints of old 45s of theirs. The originals of those I know go for a lot of money, but those are probably 8 or 9 years old by this time. Shuggie Otis, great soul singer, 45, and Inspiration, Information, and Magic. Really good stuff if you like soul music. Richard Thompson, one of the best guitarists ever. He was in Fairport Convention, and then he's been solo ever since. Made a lot of records with Linda, his former wife, back in the day too, that are worth checking out. We all know James Brown, and I really ought to open that. It's still sealed. That's from several years ago, to give that a listen, because you never can go wrong with James Brown. Don't know how many of you know that Rick James and Neil Young used to be in a band together called the Mina Birds that recorded an album for Motown in the 60s. This was before Buffalo Springfield and Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. Never got released, but they did finally release a few of the songs from it. So that's pretty, and I've listened to that. That's pretty good stuff. Paul Weller of the Jam from his then latest album that came out whatever year that was, 2011 or whenever that was. Peaches by the Stranglers, pretty good stuff. And Go Buddy Go on the flip side. This is, I'm always saying that I don't like new music, and that's pretty much true, but this is one of the rare exceptions. She's really great, and this is a exclusive Record Store Day 45 she put out several years ago. Definitely worth checking out. Any of her. I think she's got about 4 albums. Here's another one she did, I think, the following Record Store Day. And these were just limited edition, the picture sleeves, so they're long out of print. That's just a second copy of that I got. And another second copy of that. Here is Lydia Lovelace again with Corey Brannon. I don't know who that is, but they do, each side they do a cover of a Prince song, I Would Die For You, and Under the Cherry Moon by whoever Corey is. And fittingly enough, it's on purple vinyl, Prince and all that. They have Christmas 45, they always do Black Friday Record Store Day, Christmas in Dixie, Blind Boys of Alabama, and Jason Isbell, who used to be in the Drive-By Truckers. Good stuff there. Never opened this one because I got the songs, but it's a cool picture. And it's numbered too. I got number 1123. So I like that. That was an early Record Store. That might have been the first one I went to, and the second one back when 45s, instead of being 12, 15 bucks, they were 6 bucks. There's another Rolling Stones EP, Got Live If You Want It. And this is just a reprint of an English deal, but I went ahead and picked it up anyway because that's the only place you can get We Want the Stones, which is just the audience yelling We Want the Stones. So that's that. That does that for the 45s. Let's move on to the box sets. Cheap Trick. We got this 5 or 6 years ago, and this is their first 5 albums. So, and I only had Budokan, so it's good to have that in the box set. And no book or anything, just the albums, but still, I don't remember what it cost, but it wasn't too bad for considering what you get there. Here is Rough Trade, Soulfire, and it's just a box of 45s by different bands that are just soul and funk music. Haven't listened to that in quite a while, but as I remember, it was pretty good listen. Need to give it a listen again. Here is Wheedle's Groove, which is Seattle's finest funk and soul label, 1965 to 79, limited edition box set of 45s, and it opens up, and there are several 45s in there, and there's a book that talks about what that label was. So good stuff there. Stax Records, which is up there with Motown, probably better actually, just as good, I don't know, but Never Forgotten. Flip side of Stax, 68 to 74, same thing. It's got a flip top box with the 45s, and there's a book in there. So some good soul music from the Stax label. And Sonic Kicks, which I had the 45 I showed you there, that was Paul Weller's then album out in 2013. Okay, so this is the entire album, but it's just on a set of 45s, and they're all on colored vinyl. And there is a poster in the back which looks to be actually signed by Paul Weller. He, of course, was the leader of the Jam. Sad thing about this is he had done Record Store Day releases up to that point, and after this he quit because he got mad about people buying stuff and flipping them on eBay, which I can get his point, but I wish he wouldn't have done that, because by not putting out anything, you're depriving the fans who would like to see something from you, but so be it. Records, and again, I don't know what year these things. Bamboo Sessions, the Caribou Sessions by Dennis Wilson. This was his hoped for second solo album, which he never got around to finishing or releasing in his lifetime. So very good stuff. And yeah, good stuff by Dennis Wilson there. Here's another 45 sort of. This is See 'Em When Played by Pink Floyd, one of my favorite songs of theirs. Sid Barrett, of course. And it's sealed, the 45's in there. I wish, because that's what the picture sleeve looked like in England. And I don't know that it was red. I think it was just black and white. But I wish they would have copied the picture sleeve instead of this big cardboard thing. It's kind of clunky, but it's still a cool picture sleeve and a great song. Okay, Becoming the Beach Boys, and that's early audition tapes that they did before they got signed to Capitol. So good stuff, and it's on orange vinyl, so that's cool. Lydia Lovelace again. This is a soundtrack to a documentary film on her that came out a few years ago called Who is Lydia Lovelace? And it's just some live stuff. And it also came with a copy of the DVD of the movie, so that was cool. And I believe, well, no, this is black vinyl. I thought that was on colored vinyl. So never mind. She really is worth checking out if you're one of those people like me that doesn't think there's been any good new music in the last 30 years or so. The exception there, worth checking out. Phobia by the Kinks, which is a double album set, and I was really glad that they did release this on Record Store Day 3 or 4 years ago, because this had never been out on vinyl. I think this was the only Kinks album that had never been out on vinyl, with the exception of it came out in like Italy or something, and impossible to find original copies of the Italian or German, maybe it's Germany, I don't know, but wherever it came out, original copies of this go for like $900 to $1,000. So I had this on CD. Not one of the best albums, it's like their second to last album, but it does, in listening to it, I appreciated it a little more than I originally did. But still worth having. It's the Kinks. You can't ever, they're always going to have some good stuff. It's the Kinks. But glad to have that, because I didn't have $900. This is from the Record Store Day just passed, Joe Strummer. It's a 12-inch, just 2 songs on it. They're supposed to be releasing an overview of his music before the Clash and after the Clash, but cool picture of him there. I haven't listened to this yet, but and I don't know what these 2 songs are, Forbidden City and Cool Impossible, but maybe I'll play that when I get done with this. And this from this Record Store Day 2, great second album by Pink Floyd. Not as good as their first, but up there is one of my top 5 of their albums. I really like it. That is Saucer Full of Secrets, and this is the last Pink Floyd album that has any involvement by Sid Barrett, unfortunately. And also from this Record Store Day, The King, Elvis, with songs he's doing with Paul McCartney, Johnny Cash, and Bob Dylan, and Burt Bacharach. So y'all got to check this out. I know you're a big Elvis fan. First Clash album from 3 or 4 years ago, which is a classic. I think this came out in '77. Definitely the best album of that year. Cool vinyl, but just a classic album. That's not having this in your collection is like not having Sgt. Pepper or Pet Sounds. Dixie Cups, Chapel of Love, and other songs on the repress on the Redbird label. Good early 60s girl group stuff. I love that stuff. Can't go wrong with that. The Buzzcocks, classic punk rock from, this was their first or second album, I believe. I'm not sure. I think it's maybe their first or second, but classic, great album from the late 70s there. Another essential album. This was still sealed, but Television, another great punk or new wave, or however you want to call them, band. Television, Marquee Moon. Moon is an essential album from what, 77, 78, 77, I think, but this is live at San Francisco in 1978, and still sealed. I should open that sometime and give it a listen, but great band. Give it a shot. Again, I don't really like the White Stripes much, but they had ran across this at the record store whenever this was. This is several years ago. This is Elephant, which the first 2 or 3 albums are pretty good. I don't like this one too much, but it's still sealed, and figured someday down the road I can sell it or trade it for something. Another band I really don't like, and I think this was the first or second record store day that I went. I think it was the second record store day I went to, which would have been the actual third record store day. But I knew that would be popular, so I picked it up, and it's, that's more than 10 years now, I guess, that I've had it, and kept it sealed. Someday maybe I can trade it for something I want. I guess they're a talented band, not one I ever really cared about. This, on the other hand, one of the best singers of all time, Otis Blue, and it is, I believe, on blue vinyl. Yeah, it is on blue vinyl, and it comes with a 45. It's still sealed because I have the original album, so I play that great, great classic 60s soul album. Booster Do, Candy Apple Gray, not my favorite album of theirs. That would be it's in Arcade, but it's okay, and it's on this kind of metallic gray vinyl, so they were a pretty good band. I really love Zen Arcade, and for their other albums I like a few songs here and there, but that's the classic one to get. I think it's Zen Arcade double album from '84, I believe it is. Soundtrack to The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, which is on marble colored vinyl, and I have not opened that, so need to give that a listen someday. And that's from, I don't remember, several years ago. This might have been the first record store day I went to, I believe, or the second, but Syd Barrett, kind of an overview of his post-Pink Floyd stuff, and it's sealed. Cover's pretty cool, and I've got all this stuff elsewhere, so I just never opened it. But Syd Barrett, good stuff. That was the best Floyd stuff, of course, in my opinion. Grateful Dead, Rare Tracks and Cuts from 1966. Nice double album. Good stuff. Grateful Dead at Winterland in 1971. Good double album. It's got a cool, if I remember correctly, well, maybe not so much, it's just in there, but the cool cover on that one. Okay, we're getting there. Grateful Dead's first album in mono. I'm not a huge Grateful Dead fan, but occasionally I like to listen to them in their early stuff. There's some good stuff there. So, odd band, but I kind of like them when I'm in the mood. Introducing Shuggy Otis, had the 45 that I showed earlier, but just great, great stuff. This is a really good album. It's just sort of a introduction or greatest hits type thing, but haven't played that in a long time, and I need to put it on the turntable again because it's a cracker. This is what Charlie Poole and the Highlanders, complete Paramount and Brunswick recordings from 1929. Just old folk hillbilly country music from the early 20s. Not a big country fan, but I do like this kind of stuff a little bit. And this is actually a pretty good record, so I've gotten a lot of enjoyment out of that one through the years, and I've had that, I don't know, 10 years ago or so. That's not actually a record store day. That's just something that I picked up at Half Price Books, I believe, and just accidentally was in the pile. This is the soundtrack to Elevator to the Gallows, which, if you like Hitchcock movies, this was a movie from the late 50s, I believe. But if you love Hitchcock, check that out. It's a classic movie, and Miles Davis did the music for it. But that's not Record Store Day, so let's move on. This is Record Store Day. Someday My Prince Will Come in mono from Miles Davis. And this is also Record Store Day in mono. Porgy and Bess, Miles Davis again. Great stuff. Here's Little Richard. It's his first album, and that's on orange vinyl, I believe, or red. For colored vinyl, it sounds really good, and that's a great album. There's really not a bad song on there. One of the 50s greats. Probably Chuck Berry, Buddy Holly, him. I guess that's his second album, and that's on colored vinyl too, which is on white vinyl. So great stuff on there as well. And let's see, Otis Redding's debut album, good stuff. Donny Hathaway, Live at the Bitter End in 1971, double album, really good stuff. It's numbered. I got 1062. Man from U.N.C.L.E., but I got the soundtrack to The Girl from U.N.C.L.E., which actually is, only played that a couple of times. It's kind of boring, to be honest. I just bought it for the cover. Thought the music would be good. They do this, I think they still do this, but every Record Store Day, this is a series that comes out every Record Store Day. This is Rough Guide series. I think they're still going. That's Psychedelic Africa, just a lot of cool 60s and 70s psych music from Africa, fun stuff. And Latin Psychedelic Guy, which is from South America and Central America and Mexico, I guess. Good stuff. Carl Perkins, really good album. Tomorrow, great 60s psych in mono, and it actually does have a real flip back cover. Classic album. My White Bicycle might be the song you know from that. Saints, good punk rock. So, and I think that's on colored vinyl. Yeah, it's on green vinyl. So, I think this was Record Store Day a few years ago for the Black Friday Record Store Day. But glad to have it because it had never been on. It's only been on CD, hadn't been on vinyl before. Cheap Chick Christmas from a year or so ago. Black Friday Record Store, of course. The Velvet Underground, Loaded. Their last real album, last one with Reed. They had Squeeze, but everyone left the band by then, so I don't really count that. Kind of a pretty record on the splatter-colored vinyl. And played this, so this is pretty good. Devo live at Max's Kansas City in 1977. So that one went pretty quick and was hard to find on that Record Store Day, as I remember, so I'm glad I got a copy of that. This is just a kind of a Doors compilation thing, and I think it's in mono. Side 1's in mono, side 2's in stereo, and I think they had 2 or 3 versions of these that had different songs on them, maybe, I'm not sure. And Calexico, which is another recent band. I mean, they were around in the 90s and the 2000s. I'm not sure if they're still around, that I like. So they make mainly instrumental music. Sounds kind of like spaghetti western film music. Really good stuff. This is live at somewhere. It doesn't say. Oh well. And I got copy number 267. So that's cool. I didn't realize that was numbered. Anyway, I think that's it. So just wanted to show those before I went and put them back up, and hope you all have a good weekend. It's already starting to get hot here in Texas, unfortunately. So we got 5 months of that to look forward to. Yippee. But have a good Sunday, and we'll talk to you later.